Food waste was taboo in our homes because with just enough in the pantry, one dish could easily become another. In today's video, I'm sharing the forgotten leftover recipes that once fed families but have since disappeared from modern kitchens, along with the stories that deserve to be remembered. Chicken salad. Our mothers knew chicken had one final act before leaving the stage. The last tender bits found new purpose mixed with mayonnaise and celery, transformed into elegant sandwiches that made leftovers feel like a special treat. Every family had their secret touch. Some added sweet grapes, others crunchy pecans, and the adventurous included curry powder for exotic flair. This wasn't just using up meat. It was creating something truly special from the ordinary. The sound of celery being chopped meant transformation was coming, and lunch would never be boring again when Mother's creativity took hold. Chicken and dumplings. Sunday's roast chicken became Monday's comfort in a bowl, and our mothers were masters of this transformation. They would strip every morsel from the bones, creating a rich, golden broth that warmed the soul and stretched the budget. Those fluffy dumplings weren't just filler. They were love-made manifest, turning a single bird into a feast for the whole family. This wasn't just cooking, it was survival disguised as comfort food, where every drop of broth mattered and nothing was wasted. The steam rising from Mother's pot filled the kitchen with promises of warmth and abundance from almost nothing. Shredded tacos. Speaking of kitchen creativity that existed long before food trucks made tacos trendy, our mothers knew the magic of shredded pot roast wrapped in soft tortillas. This leftover recipe was about feeding a family with what you had on hand. The meat that seemed exhausted from Sunday's formal dinner suddenly became exciting again with a sprinkle of cumin, a dollop of sour cream, and maybe some cheese. Mom really knew how to use simple ingredients to make meals that brought extraordinary memories, where every bite tells the story of a mother's ingenuity. But hey, if you're enjoying these forgotten recipes, make sure to subscribe for more videos like this. Bubble and squeak. This British treasure came to American kitchens through necessity, not nostalgia. It was carried by immigrants who knew the value of every potato and cabbage leaf. Mom's recipe had cold potatoes, cabbage, with just the sizzle of butter in an iron pan, then fried until golden and crispy. The name itself tells the story, the bubble and squeak of vegetables finding new life in the skillet. Our grandmothers knew that with enough butter, patience, and the right amount of heat, any leftover could sing again. The crispy edges were proof that second chances could be absolutely delicious. Hand pies. Those same resourceful hands that made bubble and squeak also knew how to wrap dinner leftovers in flaky pastry to make portable parcels that held everything from last night's stew to tomorrow's hope. Mom's hand pies weren't just food. They were made to fill lunch pails and empty stomachs, and to send us off to school with something warm from home. The best part was the surprise. Each golden bite revealed whatever love and leftovers had been tucked inside. Whether filled with meat, vegetables, or gravy, she shaped these leftovers into hand pies with love and care that were meant to be shared. Omelets. Breakfast had its kind of leftover magic. An omelet was where bits of last night's dinner found new life in a pan of beaten eggs. She'd add a little cheese, some vegetables, maybe a slice of ham, and before you knew it, what looked like scraps turned into a hot meal worth sitting down for. With a spatula in her hand and love in her heart, our mothers folded everything together and made sure nothing good went to waste. Every omelet told the story of the meal that came before, and the leftovers transformed into a nourishing comfort meal that was served up warm, just in time to start the day. Breakfast fried rice. Rice from last night's dinner became a new meal the next day, or sometimes even before you woke up. It was cooked again with eggs and whatever vegetables needed, using up from the fridge. This wasn't fancy or authentic Asian food. It was American resourcefulness at work. Every grain got a second chance, seasoned simply and served with pride. The sound of day-old rice hitting hot oil was like music to thrifty ears. Each bite showed how yesterday's leftovers could become a good meal all over again. And if this brings back a memory for you, share this video with someone who remembers mornings like these too. Arroz con leche. Rice also found its sweetest second life in warm milk, sugar, and a touch of cinnamon, which Mom used to cook a simple grain into the sweetest rice pudding you've tasted. She'd always say that the pudding wasn't just a way to use leftovers, but a way to end the day with something warm in your belly and love in your heart. Back in the day, I didn't know how to pronounce cinnamon. I always placed the M before the N, and I didn't know how to make rice pudding, but I sure knew it tasted better if you let it sit for a couple of hours. By then, the rice has slowly turned creamy. Fried rice. Leftover rice that wasn't used for rice pudding would become the most delicious fried rice. Mom would mix in whatever vegetables were in the icebox and maybe a scrambled egg or two. And after that sizzling sound you'd recognize in a heartbeat, the grains would turn golden and separate, each one perfectly seasoned with whatever Mom had on hand. She used that big wok Dad brought home from the restaurant supply store, and the way she made everything together perfectly. Watching Mom in the kitchen, how she always knew what to add, when to add it, and just how much, is one of my fondest memories of her.
Icebox hash. Once a week, usually when the icebox had more space than food, Mother would pull out the big cast iron skillet and make icebox hash. She made it with every leftover at home. It could be mashed potatoes mixed with plain spaghetti, yesterday's vegetables, maybe some bologna or hot dogs if we were lucky. She'd warm it all together and then sprinkle a little grated cheese on top if there was any to spare. We didn't really have a particular name for the meal. We just knew it meant nothing will be wasted. Some nights it tasted wonderful, other nights it just filled our bellies, but we were grateful either way.
Gumbo. Down in Louisiana kitchens, leftover turkey or chicken found new life mixed with celery, onions, and bell peppers, what the old folks called the Holy Trinity. Mom used leftover turkey or chicken, a bit of sausage, and the flavors of the Holy Trinity. And every family guarded their recipe like a treasure. My neighbor, Mrs. Boudreau, used to say you couldn't rush a good roux any more than you could rush a good story. She'd stand at that stove for what felt like hours, stirring and stirring until it turned the color of an old penny, telling us tales while the whole kitchen filled with the smell of something special coming together.
Lasagna. Leftover spaghetti sauce was never really leftover in Mom's kitchen. It was just waiting for its next meal adventure, especially on days she tried new recipes we didn't understand. Mom believed in getting everything ready before cooking, mise en place, as modern cooks call it, so she'd lay out all the ingredients on the counter like she was preparing for surgery, making sure nothing was forgotten. She'd layer the sauce with noodles and whatever cheese she could find, maybe some leftover meat if we had it, then slide it into the oven where it would bubble and brown on top. When she cut into it, all those layers would hold together perfectly. And trust me, it always tasted even better than regular spaghetti. Meal bowls. Before anyone gave them a fancy name, our mothers were already putting rice in a bowl, adding whatever vegetables needed eating, and topping it with whatever meat was left from dinner. These weren't much, but they sure filled you up despite being prepared with leftovers that might otherwise go to waste. Each bowl was different, depending on what was hiding in the icebox. Daddy used to call them surprise bowls, because you never knew what you'd find mixed in with the rice. Sometimes it was corn and green beans, sometimes carrots and peas, but it was always good eating when Mother put it together. Chili dogs. When Mom made chili from leftover meat and vegetables, it was always enough to last for days. She'd simmer it slowly until all the flavors came together, then serve it over hot dogs in soft buns. The chili would be thick and rich, with just the right amount of spice, and when you'd bite into that hot dog, everything would blend together perfectly. It was the kind of meal that made you feel like you were getting away with something, eating hot dogs for dinner, but knowing Mom had turned them into something me and my brother Jimmy could eat 3 to 4 of these at one sitting. Meatball subs. Those same meatballs that we had with spaghetti the night before found their way into crusty rolls, covered in sauce and melted cheese until they were almost too good to believe. These weren't just sandwiches. They were pure happiness you could hold in your hands. I remember the first time I watched Mother make these, how she'd pile those meatballs high in the roll and then sprinkle cheese on top like she was decorating a cake. The way that cheese would melt and bubble in the oven, and how we'd all gather around the kitchen table, trying not to burn our tongues on the hot filling. Enchiladas. Soft tortillas wrapped around yesterday's meat, then covered in sauce and cheese, turned leftovers into something that felt like a special occasion. This wasn't just using up what you had, it was making it better than it was the first time around. Each rolled tortilla was like a little present, holding surprises inside. My aunt used to make these when she came to visit, and she'd let me help roll them up. She'd stand right beside me at the kitchen counter, guiding my hands as I tried to keep the filling from spilling out. She'd say, "Roll them like you're wrapping a gift." And honestly, they were exactly gifts made from love and yesterday's leftover
Reuben sandwiches. When you had leftover corned beef from Sunday dinner, it found its finest purpose between slices of rye bread with sauerkraut, Swiss cheese, and spread of Russian dressing, all grilled together until golden. Mom's Reuben sandwiches she made from leftovers made you close your eyes and make little sounds of happiness as you munch it. The tangy sauerkraut cut through the rich meat, the cheese melted perfectly, while that dressing tied it all together like an edible love letter. For many folks, a good Reuben made from leftover corned beef was comfort, joy, and satisfaction all wrapped up in buttered rye bread.
If these stories brought back a warm memory or two, we'd love to have you stick around. To keep these memories alive, we share stories like this every day on our channel or community. If that sounds like your kind of table, go ahead and click this video appearing on your screen now. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and do so. And we'll see you in the next one.